Hey everybody, Joe Casabona here, and today I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions I get about a lot of the things I do, which include freelance development, WordPress development, podcasting, and online course creation. So it's going to be a few questions that came in. I'll try to do this as regularly as I get questions. Hopefully, it'll be a weekly segment. So make sure to leave your questions in the comments or send me a question over on Twitter at jcasabona or anything like that. If you sign up to the newsletter, you'll get like a heads up when a new video is coming out, and you can send questions then too. So all of that stuff will be linked in the description for this video. But for now, let's get started. It is January 5th, and this is my first frequently asked questions video. So I'm going to start off with a pretty easy one just to get started. And this is from Brian D. He asks, what microphone podcast setup do you have? If he had asked this a few weeks ago, it would have been a completely different answer. I had the Sterling Audio ST51 condenser mic, and I had a Focusrite Scarlett Solo interface to connect that microphone to my computer. I wrote a blog post about that, which I will, again, I'll link in the description for this video. That was a really nice beginner setup that I had. It didn't cost too much money, and it immediately gave me better sound quality than what I was getting from my Blue Yeti. Now, the Blue Yeti is even probably cheaper than that setup. It's a lot easier to set up. So if you're looking to get into podcasting or video recording, I would definitely check out the Blue Yeti. I'm really a big fan of that USB microphone. You just got to make sure it's configured correctly. There are two knobs on the back. Turn the gain all the way down and make sure that the other knob is set to omnidirectional, which is a one-directional microphone. That's how you'll get the best sound quality from the Blue Yeti. But to go back to your question, what microphone podcast setup do I have? The current microphone I'm using right here is the Rode Procaster. This is an XLR microphone, which you can see from the longer bit, the bigger bit here. It is a professional grade dynamic microphone, which is a bit more forgiving than a condenser microphone. It's also a front address microphone, which makes it omnidirectional. So I need to be talking directly into the microphone for sound to get picked up. I chose this microphone because I am in a second floor office in my townhome. There is a window to my left, and the wall shares a wall with the nursery. So this very forgiving microphone doesn't pick up a lot of environmental sounds that a USB microphone or a condenser microphone picks up. This is attached to a shock mount and a boom arm. And what the shock mount does is allows me to kind of tap on the desk and shake the desk without those vibrations going into the microphone. So it's got some bands here, and it's got this circle that kind of cradles the microphone to make sure that just like any knock on the desk doesn't completely mess up my sound. The boom arm keeps the microphone off of my desk, elevated, and allows me to adjust the microphone to have good microphone technique. So I'm not talking into it like this or to the side or anything like that. I can position the microphone to give me good microphone technique. Now, what you don't see off camera is my ART preamp. This is replacing my Focusrite, and it is a big board of panels and knobs and things like that. So it's essentially a soundboard. It takes the raw audio coming from the microphone into the preamp, and before it sends it to my computer, it does some processing on it. So I was able to do things like put on a noise gate. So basically say any sound lower than this volume or this decibel, just completely cut that sound out. That's really nice. Yesterday there were trucks plowing outside of my window, and my microphone wasn't picking that up at all, which is really nice. I can also mess with the frequencies a little bit, so I can make the highs a little higher and the lows a little lower based on the volume or the cadence of my voice and what I'm trying to do. I do a lot of voiceover work, so I want to make sure that my voice sounds really warm and calming. I know people are going to listen to it for long periods of time, so I can mess with the settings on my preamp before sending it to my computer. So that is my new setup. I also have a couple of these Desk Max sound absorbing panels behind the monitor, and the purpose of those, as well as the bookshelves behind me, is to divert sound. So if you are in an open room, then you're going to get echo, because what happens is the sound comes out of your mouth. It not only goes into the microphone, it hits off the walls and stuff like that, and then goes back into the microphone. So I've got these sound absorbing panels right behind the monitor to absorb as much sound as possible, and then any sound that does make it back behind me gets kind of diverted thanks to the bookshelves and not having a big open room. So that was probably a longer question or a longer answer than you were expecting, but I hope I explained it pretty well. Another question came in from Sal, basically asking the same thing: what preamp / noise gate do I get? It's an ART. I will link it in the description. Staying along the lines of podcasting and audio, Patrick R asks, when I start a podcast or a YouTube show, do I need good audio from day one, or can I wait a few weeks until I prove the concept to get equipment? So my answer to this generally is you don't need the best audio in the world to get started, but you do need something better than the built-in microphone. There is certainly a bottom to audio quality, and the built-in microphone is that. You're going to get a lot of echo, and it's just going to be very annoying to listen to. I recommend either the Blue Yeti or the Blue Snowball. The Blue Snowball is like $50, and that is a very cheap USB microphone in order for you to get started. What I would recommend with the Blue Snowball is you hold it off of the desk and close to your mouth, because again, you're going to get less echo that way. But this setup, which costs, well, you can look up the prices from the description, but this is a bit more expensive, and it's because this is what I do professionally, and with my podcast, the YouTube channel, and the online courses, I want to make sure that I have the best possible audio quality, because people are going to be listening to my voice for a long time. But starting out, I had the Blue Yeti, which was $100. It plugged right into my computer, and that's what I learned on. And again, that's another thing that is probably a pro just get started argument. You're going to be learning on this equipment. This equipment had a big learning curve. My previous equipment had a slightly lower learning curve because there weren't as many knobs and things to play with. But with a USB microphone, you just plug it right into your computer and get started. So I don't think that you need amazing audio from day one. I do think there is bottom of the barrel audio. So again, the Blue Snowball is a very cheap way for you to prove your concept without having just like completely terrible audio. Patrick R also asks, how do I know people are actually listening or watching? This is a very hard thing to figure out. With my podcast, the main statistic that I look at is number of downloads. That doesn't necessarily mean people are listening, though. Apple Podcasts just rolled out stats that do track listens when people stop listening and when they pick up listening again. So you can tell based on Apple's stats. I don't know if YouTube has similar stats. I usually just look at views for that one, but I believe they probably do have a way that you can see how far into the video people make it. So that's really how you know. If you want to know how engaged users are, I would have a call to action at the beginning of the video or the end of the video. At the end of this video, I'm going to ask you to like the video if you like it, subscribe to this channel if you liked this video and you want to see more content, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. For a podcast, at the end, I would say, if you like the show, head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show. It's how people discover me and things like that. So having a call to action to see how mobilized and how engaged your listeners or watchers are is a really nice way to see really the type of audience you have, right? But downloads for my podcast, views for my videos has been my main metric to see how popular are my videos, or at least how many people are giving this content a shot. So that's it's not an exact science. It's very hard to figure out like how engaged people are, or how much people are listening and when exactly they're listening. Things are getting better, but it's not perfect yet. Okay, so the next question is from Tim M, and he asks, "How do you reset expectations with a customer due to scope creep or new features?" So that is a great question. It falls in the realm of freelancing, and it's going to happen on every project. Basically, what happens is uh, you have a client that says, "Hey, I need a website that does this, or I need an application that does this," and then you say, "Okay, I'm going to build out these features. Does that sound good?" Yeah, that sounds great. You build it, and then once they start testing, this has happened a whole lot in the agencies I've worked at and as a freelancer. They say, "Hey, my website doesn't do this, and I need it to do this." And that is mostly a miscommunication on both parties' sides, right? No one party is at fault here. Sure, the client didn't specifically state that they needed this. They might have assumed that WordPress just does this out of the box, or, well, my current system does it, therefore I assumed every system does it. The way that you reset expectations is um, to say, "Okay, I understand that you need this. This isn't something that we talked about." You assess how much time it's going to take you to do. If it's really small and it'll buy you a little bit of goodwill with the client, I would just do it for free. I would say, I'll make an exception this time, but we didn't agree to this. I know it's really important to you, so I'm going to do this. But you need to be pretty judicious about that, because if you keep doing it or you don't explain that it's a one-time thing, they're going to keep asking for new features that are outside of scope. Now, if it is a big feature that you can't possibly eat the cost for, you have to be upfront and just say that and say, "Hey, I understand that you need this. This is not something we talked about. It'll take 30 hours to develop. Unfortunately, I can't just do that for free, but I can add it as phase two, or we can add a change order to the project so that we can add it on. But unfortunately, it is going to cost you a little bit extra for me to be able to do this." And the follow up to that is, how do you prevent that in the future? The way that you prevent scope creep or adding new features that weren't stated at the beginning is a strong discovery phase. So that is going to take some time up front, or I know of some agencies that charge for their discovery if it's going to take them 20 hours to do. And you know what? That's a really good investment to make up front. And the way that you sell it to the client is, yes, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars now for me to do a longer discovery project. However, the more I understand your needs, the more I understand your company, and the more I understand what you're asking me for, the less it's going to cost in the long run. So, basically what I would do is I used to have a long RFP that asks clients, who you are, what do you do, who's your competition, what websites do you like, things like that. For bigger projects, I would I would ask, what does your current system do? What's your workflow now? What do you think can be improved? Because ultimately, uh, the client is going to have a list of, okay, these are the things that I know I need. These are the things I do on an everyday basis. But they might forget, or they might not realize that this other feature that they use a lot, or maybe not even use a lot, maybe use sometimes, isn't going to be included. So asking a lot of leading questions, spending an hour or two with the client, interviewing them about their workflow, and really understanding what they're doing and why they do it and how they do it is going to make for a good discovery phase, and it's going to at least nip scope creep in the bud in a lot of cases, right? You're making it clear, this is what you've told me, This is what I'm going to build for you. This is why I'm going to build it for you. And this is how I understand that you work. So really, really good communication, a deep discovery phase, and just an understanding. Being a partner to your client really helps there too. So that's how I think that you prevent scope creep in the future. That is a big workflow change, right? If you're a freelancer, you just want to get in there, you want to get the down payment and start developing so that you can knock this project out of the park. But for bigger projects, it is going to take a long time. Because if you really want to understand what the client is doing, then that takes a lot of conversations in the beginning before you even start planning the project, before you even write a line of code or open Photoshop or Sketch or whatever it is that you use to design. So that was a really good question. And those are the 4 or 5 that I had for this week. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or follow me on Twitter and send me a question on Twitter. I'm at jcasabona. That's JCASABONA. Subscribe to this channel if you like it, or like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like that. And until next time, thanks for joining me. Hey everybody, I hope you liked that video. I hope you found it informative. I hope you ask more questions for me in the future. I'm doing this series as a way to introduce people to my WordPress freelance coaching program. So the application process, it's open now. You can apply over at casabona.org/coaching. It is a program where I work with 3 or 4 people who really focus on WordPress for their business. We meet once a week for 6 weeks. I go over everything I've learned over the last 15 years, and then you have the opportunity to ask me specific questions that you have about your business. So if you are interested, if you liked this video and you really want to fine tune your business for 2018, make sure to apply over at casabona.org/coaching. Applications are open until January 20th, and I'm accepting 4 people max. So jump on it. It's a really great opportunity. The first people that I coached in the fall really enjoyed the program. You can read their testimonials over on casabona.org/coaching. Thanks so much.